you're right where you need to be. You're at the wood speed limit and you're saving money. Now, I have not shown this before, and I probably still won't. It's a bad time to be sawing furniture grade high-end poplar that I do not want to sticker stain. Yeah, exactly. Don't you just hate it when the birds crap on your sawmill? They have no respect. Folks, welcome back to the sawmill. It is noisy. I got my noise canceling microphone. It's probably going to cancel everything I say. But it's hot. It's been raining. Now the humidity's up around 3,000%. That is an exaggeration. Only 2,000%. Even Chip is having trouble figuring out where to stay cool. And we're gonna saw up some poplar logs, which is a no-no in this kind of heat. But I gotta do it because I'm running low. So I'll show you a few tricks on air drying it to avoid sticker stain in this oppressive heat. Because if you don't do something, it'll come out looking like a zebra stripe. And I'm going to start sawing up this fairly decent sized mineralized poplar log. Whew. Did I mention it's hot out here? Open up the diesel here and get a little fluid going, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of color. There may be. I had an interesting question the other day. Somebody asked me why I cut my 8/4 to 2 3/8 when that's obviously really 9/4. And let me get this board off here. And the answer is, it gives me a lot of freedom, because a 1 1/8 inch board, a 1 1/8 inch board, plus a saw curve times 2, exactly 2 3/8. So that means then that I can take this and cut it into 1 1/8 or 2 3/8, and it will always end up equal on the last dog board, last board. Because 1 1/8 plus a saw curve, 2 times that is 2 3/8. So it's a good multiple. I can saw interchangeably. Yeah. First thing, hitting the E-flat note. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about today, other than I am sawing poplar at the wrong time of year. It is hot. It is very humid, and this is a bad time to be sawing furniture grade high-end poplar that I do not want to sticker stain. Nobody who spends a lot of money on wood wants to get a board that looks like a zebra with the stripes. For all you folks out there that are forced into this same situation, there is a very easy solution, and you're looking at it. Oh, not me, the fan. I know y'all like, the professor's about to start yakking, start professoring. But something to realize about moisture content in wood. Mainly two types of sticker stain. One is enzyme sticker stain. That's where the sugars and the enzymes in the wood react with the heat and the moisture in the environment, and the sugars will turn a gray color. It will go deep into the wood. It really doesn't plane out. You get enzyme stain in what are generically called white woods. That's poplar, basswood, maple, stuff like that. You probably aren't going to plane it out. It's there. You just better hope your customer likes looking at a table that's got zebra stripes on it. The other one is mold. That's more common in oak, some of the more acidic hardwoods. That does plane out pretty easily. It's no big deal. In my experience, it's not something to be worried about too much. The one that you do worry about is enzyme stain, and enzyme stain is caused by high humidity, high moisture, and high heat, relatively high heat. So, as I said, I'm going to put a chart up there somewhere, and it shows the effect of air velocity over dry versus lumber drying. And the relationship is the more wet the wood, the more moisture that's in the wood, the more effect air velocity or wind has on the drying rate. Which means that if you have very wet wood, like fresh sawn poplar, and you have air going over it, like with a fan, you will dry that lumber very quickly, basically at its maximum allowable moisture removal rate. During the initial stages of air drying, if you use forced air over the lumber, it will dry as fast as you could dry it in a kiln if you had a kiln while it's wet. As the lumber dries out, the air velocity over the wood does not dry the lumber as fast, so it naturally slows it down. So when the wood's wet, it will dry it very fast. When the wood starts to dry out, it's going to slow it down, and it's going to dry it, depending on the species, at the maximum allowable rate. Poplar, for example, can take a very high moisture removal rate, so air blowing over it works great. If I was to do this with oak, I would destroy it. Another thing is when you force air over the wood, it's evaporating the moisture, and that evaporating cooling actually lowers the temperature of the wood, and that second factor also helps prevent enzyme stain. So, in the summertime, if you're sawing whitewood, put a fan on it, as long as it's a high allowable moisture removal. I got to come up with a better word for that. As long as the species allows high moisture removal rates without cracking, put a fan over it, you will notice a huge drop in moisture, and a lot of times just that little bit of surface drying will prevent you from having enzyme stain. Now, I have not shown this before, and I probably still won't, but in one of my air drying yards, I have banks of these big fans running. The high sugar woods, I will put them behind the fans. I will blow air over them. Poplar will have gone from soaking wet, very high moisture levels, sometimes down as low as 25%. Extremely fast drying. Since the 4th of July is coming up, if you ever wondered how if you do own a sawmill and you want to keep everybody cool during the 4th of July while y'all eating your hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff, saw you up some wet poplar, put some big fans behind it, blow it on all your people, and it will be just like a swamp cooler. You'll have 95-degree air on this side, it'll be 75 coming out, and before long everybody will have moved into the poplar smelling air. Trust me, we do it every year. A little bit of secret of the old Hobby Hardwood. But so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be sawing this up. I mean, we saw every day. I'm gonna be sawing this up, and even when I'm done sawing, I'm gonna take the fan and I'm gonna blow it over that stack of wood, and that's a good thing. Do not do that with white oak. You will destroy it. Always been a big fan of fans. Not to mention, while I'm sawing, I have it blow over me, and keeps the sawdust that way. So let's get back to it. We got some poplar to saw up. I really need to take another couple boards off this side, this face. Oh, you gotta love sawing poplar. I mean, like sawing butter. You know, there are some mills around here that will not saw up wood that stains easily in the summertime. There's one big commercial mill not too far from here that they will not saw up any real white wood during July and August just because the sticker stain is so prevalent. Of course, I'll buy the logs and I'll do it. But they're not wrong. You really don't want to be sawing white wood during high summer temperatures unless you've got a plan on not sticker staining. I always have a plan. May not work, but I'll have one. These are big wide boards here. This saw's really doing well. Let's see what they look like. Starting to get some good color peeking through on this one, on this face. Now we want to balance this one about 9 inches. Now I'm right at 10 inches really. Go down one more. This looks good right at 9 inches, a little under. Let's see how we did here. I always look to see how much sawdust you're leaving on the cant and look to see how your saw blade's doing. You'll notice there's actually very little sawdust. I'm moving at a pretty good clip, maybe 3 inches per blade advance. That's a moderate to heavy clip. I'm not seeing much wave at all. It means the saw is dialed in. Everything's running good. That's good because this is poplar. If there's one species you don't want to have to fight, that's poplar. Now some people may be asking, well, you've got a couple of kilns. Why do you even bother air drying at all? That's a fair question, and it's a pretty straightforward answer. All wood has a maximum allowable moisture removal rate. And it's published, you can find it. There's any number of publications that list it. And hang on, I gotta go get some stickers. If you exceed the maximum allowable moisture removal rate of a species and thickness, because it is dependent on both, you'll crack the wood. It's pretty much that simple. Wood shrinks, and when it shrinks, and if it shrinks too fast, it cracks. So when you're using a kiln, you like to dry right at the maximum allowable moisture removal rate for that species. It just makes dollars and cents. If I'm having to spend money to have my electricity running that kiln, I don't want it lollygagging around. I dial the wet bulb and the dry bulb up to exactly where it needs to be to hit that moisture removal rate for that wood, and that's where I'm going to be drying at. Or in many instances, you can achieve that maximum allowable rate using various air drying techniques, including forced air from a fan, and you will be able to dry at the same rate as if you had a kiln. Conversely, if you can dry at the same rate you have as a kiln using air drying techniques, think how much money you're saving. You're not running the kiln, at most you're running a fan or two. You can't go any faster, you'll crack the wood. You're right where you need to be. You're at the wood speed limit, and you're saving money. So you have to basically master air drying if you want to have really high quality wood and you want to save on your utility bill at the same time. Now, as a general rule, I like to air dry my 4/4 lumber about 6 weeks minimum, and that locks in the colors. It reduces the stress of the lumber and overall gives you a better quality product. Not only does air drying reduce stress in lumber, but kiln drying will, if done improperly, increase it. So your options are air dry correctly at the same speed as a kiln, reduce stress and maintain color, or put it in a kiln and cook it and potentially increase the stress of the lumber to make it worse to work with and lose color. Which one do you think is the best choice? If you wonder how air drying reduces stress, just think of wilting. If you take a piece of lettuce, put it on the counter and just let it sit, it's going to wilt. That wilting is the fibers degrading. So if you come back a day later, the lettuce leaf will be wilted. It'll be kind of flat. Certainly won't have that liveliness that it had when it just came off the head. So in many instances, air drying lumber, even if you have a kiln, is equivalent to letting the lumber wilt and remove that internal stress naturally. Of course, you don't want it air drying forever, and you don't want a sticker stain. so you use a fan. Let's get back to sawing this thing. Really, if you're trying to produce high quality lumber, whether you're a professional or you're a hobbyist, you really need to look at all the tools that are available to you. And don't turn your nose up at air drying as a step in the process, because it works. I'm getting very good stress to the side. I'll show you that. This is what you like to see. You can even speed the sawmill up a little bit. We take boards off one face. We want to take boards off the opposite face. We always try to keep it balanced. I'm getting down into the pits of this pant. I am going to saw through it. There's really no more rotations for me left to do. So I'm going to look at them, and if they're usable, I'm going to at least try to dry them. I may be able to use them for, I may be able to use them for pallets later. Dunnage, certainly not high value wood. I mean, the juvenile core is always going to split, but it's still lumber in some form of fashion. Alrighty, done with this guy. We turning the sawmill off. As a general rule, most species will sticker stain much worse in the sapwood than they will the hardwood. So, for example, these boards are almost all sapwood. They may sticker stain. I mean, I'm going to do my best to make sure they don't. These boards are heartwood. They are much less prone to sticker stain. As a matter of fact, you've probably seen it if you've been sawing, where you'll see a sticker stain kind of go across the sapwood board, and then when it hits heartwood, it disappears, and then when it gets to the sapwood, it starts to show back up again. That's completely normal, and that is something that you need to be aware of. If you're sawing lumber, sawing logs that do have a tendency to sticker stain, then you should adjust your sawing pattern accordingly, just like I did. And I'm trying to get through the sapwood or the jacket boards quickly and settle the cant down, square the cant down to an all heartwood face. And that means that those boards most likely will not sticker stain, even if I have bad luck or poor technique and sticker stain the all sapwood boards. Typically the heartwood is where the extractives are, and the heartwood is where the better color is, and the heartwood is the higher value. So when you see me saw walnut, for example, you'll see me square that up quite fast. I have almost no interest in the sapwood for various reasons. But the nice thing about it, it's very difficult to sticker stain walnut heartwood. Not so hard to sticker stain the sapwood in walnut, but if you don't really mess with the sapwood, you just eliminated that whole variable. Almost screwed up there. Remember I was talking about airflow? So instead of trying to jam one more board on this pack, I'm actually going to spread it out a little bit, try to let some air move through the pack. A lot of people may not realize that air permeates through the pack vertically, much like a chimney. A pack will have a draw on it, like a chimney. Does it make sense for me to jam one more board on there and just block all the airflow in the pack? Or does it make more sense for me to slow it, to spread it out just a little bit, improve the chances of zero sticker stain? I mean, that's an easy answer. Sticker geometry plays an important role in sticker stain. I prefer the fluted stickers, spiral stickers. Certainly, you don't want them wet, but you don't want them too dry either. Can reverse sticker stain. And instead of having a zebra stripe, we'll leave a pale stripe, which just looks just as stupid to a customer. How come that board's got that white stripe going right down it? Well, the guy who was drying the wood was an idiot and had no idea what he was doing. Well, who was that? Here. Don't be that guy. This will be the last log of the day. And after all this being said about what I should do about it, I'm going to turn this fan right here. I'm going to move this table out of the way, and I'm getting airflow over my stack of wood. And tomorrow, I mean, this is soaking wet. Tomorrow will come out and it will be noticeably drier. I will see y'all next week. Y'all have a good one, and have fun sawmilling. It really is fun, even when it's hot. Thanks for visiting our sawmill. Click on the links above to see more of our videos.